Hello, I am Isabella. Today I will narrate a famous honest woodcutter story. Let's get started. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled near a dense forest, there lived a humble woodcutter. Every day, he ventured into the forest to chop wood, which he sold to make a modest living. Despite his poverty, the woodcutter was known far and wide for his honesty and integrity. One fine morning, as the sun bathed the forest in a golden glow, the woodcutter was chopping wood near the bank of a river. His axe, old but reliable, was his most prized possession, for without it, he would be unable to earn his livelihood. As he was cutting down a large tree, the woodcutter swung his axe with all his might. But to his dismay, the axe slipped from his hands, flew through the air, and fell into the deep, fast-flowing river. The woodcutter's heart sank as he watched his axe disappear beneath the water. He knew the river was too deep and swift for him to retrieve it. Distraught, he sat on the riverbank and began to weep, for without his axe, he had no way to support his family. As he cried, a shimmering figure emerged from the river. It was the river fairy, who had been touched by the woodcutter's sorrow. The river fairy asked, "Why are you weeping, my good man?" The woodcutter explained his plight to the river fairy, who, moved by the woodcutter's honesty and despair, decided to help him. The river fairy dove back into the water and soon re-emerged, holding a gleaming golden axe. "Is this your axe?" asked the river fairy, holding up the precious tool. The woodcutter gazed at the golden axe, its surface shining in the sunlight, but he shook his head. "No, that is not my axe," he replied. "My axe is old and made of iron." The river fairy smiled at the woodcutter's honesty and dove back into the water. Moments later, she returned, this time holding a silver axe. "Is this your axe?" the river fairy asked. Once again, the woodcutter shook his head. "No, that is not my axe either," he said. "My axe is made of simple iron." The river fairy disappeared into the water one last time and soon returned, holding the woodcutter's old iron axe. "Is this your axe?" asked the river fairy. The woodcutter's face lit up with joy. "Yes, that is my axe," he exclaimed. Thank you." The river fairy was so impressed by the woodcutter's honesty that he gave him not only his iron axe, but also the golden and silver axes as a reward for his integrity. The woodcutter returned to his village with all 3 axes. He continued to work diligently, but now he lived a more comfortable life, using the money from selling the golden and silver axes wisely. Despite his newfound wealth, the woodcutter remained humble and continued to help his neighbors whenever they were in need. Word of the woodcutter's good fortune soon spread throughout the village and beyond. Many of his fellow woodcutters, hearing the story, became envious and decided to try their luck. They went to the same river and deliberately threw their axes into the water, hoping to receive golden and silver axes in return. When the river fairy appeared and offered them the golden axe, each one claimed it as their own. But the river fairy, knowing their dishonest intentions, refused to give them any axes at all, not even their original ones. The envious woodcutters returned home empty-handed, their greed and dishonesty costing them dearly. They learned that honesty and integrity are always rewarded, while deceit and greed lead to nothing but loss.
As for the honest woodcutter, he lived happily ever after, respected by his fellow villagers, and cherished for his unwavering honesty and kind heart. The moral of the woodcutter and the golden axe story is that honesty and integrity are always rewarded, while greed and dishonesty lead to loss and regret. The story teaches us that staying true to our principles, even in difficult situations, will ultimately bring positive outcomes, whereas trying to deceive others for personal gain can backfire and leave us worse off. Thanks for watching. If you find this story well, please share with your friends.